I am making more videos and content farming more videos to keep myself from posting an Addison Rae v. Tate McRae comparison because I just don't wanna make it. Because mind you, I think the moves that Addison and Tate are doing both are just incredibly phenomenal, but I also I don't know. I feel like my ancestors are gonna haunt me. So I don't know if I should make it or not. I don't know if I should post it. I probably will, but yeah, I don't know. Anyway, welcome to my channel. Hello everyone. My name is Exis and this is my channel Exis Does. Welcome to my channel. It's wonderful to have you. If you were to ask me what I do on this channel, it is somewhere in between what I do today, commentary, and my best. And today I want to take some time to rant. What I want to rant about is Disney and the woke controversies behind them. The honorary plushie I have today, or by today I mean in this next hour of video ranting, is Amy Rose. She will be assisting me, mostly out of convenience because she was just hanging on my door and I wanted to switch it up a little bit. I'm gonna talk with horrendous lighting. I just made a video about Mr. Beast with like the worst type of lighting and all I had to do was turn my light on. Anyway, so hang in there, get ready. Don't be too worried if you feel like this is gonna be a video that isn't along my traditional type of commentary format, but I just want to talk about it, okay? Because I never thought in my timeline that I would see Disney flop in the way that they have. Let's do a brief recap of what has been happening in the past year or so with Walt Disney World as a conglomerate, okay? Well, for starters, I want to say a decade or so, a little over a decade or so, they had acquired Lucasfilms and Marvel Studios. And like, I knew it was kind of the beginning of the end for Disney when I started realizing that a lot of the Marvel movies they were making were not that good. They were not that strong. It kind of lost its appeal to the masses and people just could kind of see behind the formulaic nature and almost the corporate nature of how these Marvel phases and Marvel movies were being rolled out. So that was already like a big red flag. But I want to say a second huge red flag is when the Wish movie, the animated Wish movie, was not well received at all by any of the people who watched it. Everyone hated that movie. Everyone thought that movie was horrible. It was not that good. It was not that strong. Then you heard about the controversy behind Elemental and people being sick and tired of the same plot line of like a dynamic duo, fish out of water, being integrated into a new society type of story. Prior to that, there was controversy behind Lightyear and Onward having scenes of queerness in them. The movie Buzz Lightyear had a character who had a girlfriend who was a woman, and then Onward had a female orc, so not even like a real person, but a female orc, say that she had a girlfriend for like 5 seconds, and people like clutched their pearls, and that was a controversy. I would say that I kind of knew that Disney was losing its luster a little bit when they greenlit Wish, and this current phase or last phase of Marvel flopped horribly. So like somewhere in between Ant-Man Quantumania and Wish is when I knew that Disney needed to do some restructuring. In 2014, when I was fresh out of the Disney college program and I was going to college for animation and I wanted to work for Walt Disney Studios and work in Pixar and all of these big budget animation studio companies, if you were to tell me that 10 years ago Disney would flop around circa 2024 and that Disney would not be that girl anymore, I would not have believed you. I would have laughed in your face. I would have been like, Disney is the shit gold standard. When I tell you I took animation classes that were training their students as if they were going to work for Disney, as if they were going to work for the mouse himself. It was that serious. Only to realize that now Walt Disney World isn't anywhere in any way, shape, or form what it used to be. It kind of lost its magic a little bit, and I can't help but say that it is nothing but Disney's fault. A lot of people want to blame Disney's lack of success with a lot of the projects that they have worked on as of recently on wokeness and political correctness and the constant fighting and scratching to be politically correct and shoehorn in hyper progressive messaging and concepts into a lot of their media and entertainment. I've heard it so passionately be conveyed by a lot of Disney content creators who are questioning the legitimacy of Disney as a corporate structure, blame Disney's flop era that they are currently going through on woke and wokeness alone, and that they are too woke, they're too politically correct. I was listening to a podcast of people talk about what happened to the Disney parks and what happened to the magic and the spectacle that Disney parks once had. And what turned out to be a video on just exploiting its guests and convincing people that they need to pay overpriced fees for the experience of Disney that no longer is there since they've cut a lot of corners, eventually evolved into a video about how wokeness has ruined the parks and how them using gender neutral pronouns to address its guests, from hey sir, hey ma'am, to hey pal, hey buddy, is what's ruining the parks. And that somehow that is the main reason for concern. Them giving money to marginalized groups and whatnot is what was ruining the Walt Disney World experience. I've also seen how people react whenever Disney colorblind casts certain characters from their franchises. Starting off when they acquired Star Wars and they came out with their own first trilogy of the Star Wars franchise. I believe it was episode 7 where we had John Boyega as Finn, and then we had Daisy Ridley as Rey, and how much controversy was behind that for some reason, because a black guy and a woman were, at least they made us think that the black guy was going to be one of the main characters, part of the main core cast of Star Wars, and that was bad. Then you had the controversy with Halle Bailey playing the Little Mermaid and how much hate she got on the internet for playing a white Disney princess, and then Tinkerbell being rebranded as a black fairy and being casted by Yara Shahidi. All of these controversies behind Disney stemming from this idea and concept of wokeness. And now the idea that wokeness, that used to be just being conscious about the world and the environment that you're living in, now turning into this negative connotation by a certain political side, is almost deemed as something that you should be disgruntled by, because it's affecting the integrity of the content and the media that you consume, and is causing groupthink mentalities and radicalizing people. Like, the other side isn't doing the same exact thing when they combat these controversies. I'm gonna take a shot at the dark, okay? And I'm going to say, I think that you want to think that the reason why Disney is flopping is due to wokeness. But I also think that deep down inside, you think that Disney is flopping not due to wokeness, but because they just don't make good products anymore. They just don't make good media anymore. And I also think that you are choosing to ignore the fact that they have not made good media for the past 20 to 30 years. But you are shrouded by the nostalgia of watching your favorite Disney princess movie, your favorite Disney movie, your favorite Disney IP, that you are now convincing yourself that the reason why you don't like Disney is because they're too forced progressive, wokey woke. When in actuality, you never really liked Disney because they always exploited their successful IPs instead of actually treating them like pieces of work to be invested in. Let me explain, okay? Because I feel like I'm cooking a lot on this one, okay? The Disney Renaissance era. I want to say that Disney has always been hyper focused on securing a bag and capitalizing off of their properties more than they actually care about coming out with strong bodies of work. How do I know this? We started out with Disney Renaissance films, okay? The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Hercules, Mulan, The Lion King. Really, really good Disney animated movies that felt like musicals that felt like you were encapsulated in the world. The music that was done for these movies was amazing. Disney was the ship gold standard on how you should be creating an animated musical. They are the ship gold standard for that, okay? And then somewhere down the line, whoever the corporate CEO was at the time thought it was a good idea to reintroduce the franchise to a newer generation. And instead of just utilizing what made those movies great, utilizing that formula, which we saw later on in like Tangled and Frozen, started coming out with a buttload of made-for-DVD sequels. So Little Mermaid 2, where Ariel had a daughter and she wanted to be under the sea and she did not want to be where the people were. Hercules had a spin-off show. Little Mermaid actually had a spin-off show. Aladdin had a spin-off show too. Not only did he have a spin-off show, but I believe he also had like 3 or 4 made-to-DVD direct sequels, which Robin Williams like starred in one of them at least. The Lion King had The Lion King 2, 3, and 1.5. Y'all remember Lion King 1.5? There was no reason for them to have Lion King 1.5, and quite frankly, Lion King 1.5 wasn't that funny. But again, like they just kept making sequel after sequel after sequel made for DVD. Why? To capitalize off of the golden era of Disney. And when that no longer worked, once they acquired Pixar, when Pixar was all out of the ideas, because they literally had a list of ideas that they wanted to make for movies that were done very, very well, they started coming out with sequels. Incredibles 2 was horrible. There was no need to have a Finding Dory. I already knew Finding Dory was going to be terrible, because why do we need a Finding Dory? We already found Nemo. We already know where Dory is. She doesn't need to be founded. We don't need to know who her parents are. Finding Nemo on its own was a great movie, right? Cars 2 and 3, what the fuck was Cars 2? We did not need Cars 2. Toy Story? Quiet as it's kept. After Toy Story 3, they should have wrapped that all the way up. Wrapped it up. But no, they did not wrap it up. Okay, because they came out with a Toy Story 4, and now they're coming out with a Toy Story 5. And Toy Story 4 was horrible. Like, I felt like it went against everything that Toy Story 1, 2, and 3 was trying to do. Toy Story 3 wrapped it up in a pretty bow, okay? Next generation of kids to play with toys. All right, we don't need no Toy Story 4. We don't need to be talking about the existentialism of toys and whether Sporky's a real toy or not, because the kid breathed life into it with its googly eyes and squiggly line for a smile. Like, no, what? Buzz Lightyear, like the spin-off? If you're gonna do a spin-off, why not do the one based off of the animated series that you painstakingly shove down our throats at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday, weekly time slot on Jetix and Toon Disney? Like, you could have just taken the characters from that and put them on the big screen, but you redid the whole Lightyear story and made it into like some edgy, gritty drama of some sort, right? Like, even down to Disney Channel as a network, okay? They were beating a lot of their child actors into the ground. They were like, when High School Musical came out, remember how they just beat that down to the ground? High School Musical 1, High School Musical 2, High School Musical 3, High School Musical the sing-along version for 1, 2, and 3, High School Musical merchandise. High School Musical was everywhere in the parks. High School Musical is the reason why we got the whole Disney Channel factory, and it's also the reason why we got a lot of singing and a lot of tween and teeny bopper shows, okay? Because then Hannah Montana came out. Underage Miley was working like a horse. She was literally working like a horse. Tour after tour, season after season, Miss Mamas was working. And that formula worked for them, so they were like, Demi Lovato, you're gonna do the same thing with Camp Rock. Selena Gomez, get up in there, sister. And then you wonder why half of those individuals went ape crazy. Look at how they exploited them. Disney has a habit, and I do believe, because a lot of people are shrouded by nostalgia, that they won't address, that Disney has a habit of beating a lot of their intellectual properties into the ground, force feeding it through a feeding tube to its audience down their throat until we inevitably get tired of it and we're like, okay, you need to do better. Like, you need to do something else. Disney has a habit of this, and they've had a habit of this. It has never been Disney being too woke or too controversial or pushing progressive values. If I can do a quick side tangent, I do believe that the concept of wokeness and what it means, which is radicalization of progressive tendencies, wherever on the conservative spectrum you lie, it's complete bullshit, because everything is woke. Everything is woke and everything is political. How you choose to interact with the political nature of things, it's up to you and your discretion. Personally, I can't be hyper obsessed with politics all the time. I will literally blow up if I do. But also, a lot of y'all's favorite shows and movies are woke. They're woke shows and movies. Explain to me this. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse somehow avoids the woke allegation, but Onward does not. And maybe because Onward outright says, hey, this female troll, she's gay, guys, she's gay. But like, for crying out loud, Miles Morales is like black and Puerto Rican. No, but he's like black and Puerto Rican. Gwen Stacy's dad is a cop. We learned that in the second movie. There's like shipping of the two of them. That's an interracial couple. Dr. Umar would be devastated. The whole society of spider people, okay, that Miguel O'Hara runs, could be a whole commentary of going against the system. That's a very woke movie, but we'll never put it in the woke category. But because in Onward, a female troll, mind you, that does not exist, says that she has a girlfriend. Woke, bad. No, y'all don't care about wokeness, and you never cared about wokeness with Disney at all. You never really actually cared that Halle Bailey was black. Some of the racists probably did, but Halle Bailey being black in the Little Mermaid movie isn't what made the movie bad. I would almost argue Halle Bailey single-handedly carried that movie way more than anything else did, because overall, when I watched that movie, I'm being honest, I did not like it that much. I think Halle Bailey saved the movie, but to be completely honest with you, that movie was not that good. And you want to know why it wasn't that good? Because again, Disney is regurgitating and reusing and beating down to the ground their same highly marketable to be the most popular IPs into the masses yet again. This time doing it in a very live action universe. And it's not really working because it feels like a cheap cop-out instead of actually giving the viewers what they want with the live action, or just making a completely original story on its own. Y'all were never mad at Halle Bailey being the Little Mermaid. Y'all were mad that the Little Mermaid was being remade into yet another reboot for Disney to make money off of, only to realize that they never actually really cared about the essence of what these original IP Disney Renaissance films were, and more so cared about getting y'all to just watch the movie and consume the product. And that's what Disney has been doing time and time again. Y'all don't like Disney, and y'all are not in support of Disney because Disney doesn't know how to just make good products in lieu of shoving algorithmically friendly corporate garbage down our throats with every movie and IP they have. And this especially holds true for Marvel and how they flopped, because I do believe when they got into phase 4 and they started making television shows and made it a lot harder for people, mass individuals who supported the Marvel franchise, to kind of follow along with what's been happening, because they now would have to watch these shows on a streaming service that they probably don't have access to. That's what ultimately made this past phase of Marvel flop horribly. And I am fully convinced that a lot of the popular animated series like Arcane, or even popular movies like Spider-Man, or even like indie production studios like A24 are doing so well, because while they are concerned about whether or not people will consume or enjoy the work that they put out and will support their project, they also are very passionate about the projects they put out, and they're also very particular and very experimental with the projects that they showcase to their audience. And that's something that Disney does not do. And I think that is why Disney is flopping, and why Disney has always been flopping. You was never mad that Disney was now using gender neutral names to call their guests at the Walt Disney World resorts. That's never what pissed you off about Disney World. What actually pissed you off about Disney World is that they started overpricing for the downgrading quality of the park. They acquired IPs like Star Wars and put the intergalactic Star Cruiser into Star Wars Land, only for it to not really convey the actual essence of what Star Wars is and what Star Wars fans would appreciate, and overprice a ton of shit up the wazoo at these Disney World parks for you and your family of 3 or 4 to just enjoy. That's why you're mad at the parks. That's why you're mad at Disney. Not because a cast member called your grandmother pal instead of ma'am. It never was about that. You're not mad because Mickey in his little Juneteenth outfit does this little stroll with the HBCU band on June 16th. You were just mad that you had to spend upward $200-$300 a day to attend the parks, plus another $200 to $300 to stay at one of their luxury resorts, only for a downgrade of quality and a downgrade in intentionality behind those parks. And it also might be why Universal Studios is doing so well. It always feels like people are shrouded by the nostalgia of what Disney once was, not understanding that for about upwards 30 years or so, Disney has never been doing so well, but because we were young and we like to sing along to High School Musical, or maybe we want to watch our favorite Hannah Montana episode, or maybe we remember the first time we watched a Disney movie that really resonated with us, we're not really focused on how Disney never really was that girl anyway, and how Disney was always intended to make monies off the backs of creatives that truly care about their work, but also water it down into a very formulaic corporate way for people to consume their content. And I think that's something that we need to talk about, that needs to be unpacked. It never was wokeness. I believe wokeness was never a problem, because technically you can make that argument for everything. A part of me feels like Disney is being like attacked by people for the wokeness argument, but that's neither here nor there. But I always have felt like Disney was never really that good in fully owning and growing and expanding off of the IPs that they've acquired or the IPs that they have made themselves. And it's always been that way. Even with Disney animation, before Wish, we had Frozen 2. There was no reason for us to have Frozen 2. And now we have a Moana 2 and a live action Moana, both of which Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is going to be in. Girl, Disney is flopping because they never cared about making good bodies of work that people connected to. They only cared about making money off of the backs of you. Whether they are hyper liberal or have a very progressive nature in their movies, or whether they are hyper conservative and have a more conservative nature in their movies, they only care that your ass and your family, your kids, your father, your mother, all their asses will be sitting in the seats and watching their movies and buying their merchandise and paying overcharged prices at their parks. That's all they've ever cared about, and paying for their overly priced streaming service. Okay, maybe at some point, I want to say Disney Renaissance, the people who work for the Disney Renaissance, they probably cared. I'd also like to say that when Walt was alive, he probably cared about making really good quality of work for his studio. But after that, when Bob Iger was in there, that man never cared about making really good movies and shows that people resonated with. He probably cared about getting a check, which is why a lot of the stuff is flopping nowadays. I heard that Inside Out 2 did well, which is good. So there's still hope. This has been an issue for a while, and now we're just old enough to kind of see through the BS. Can Disney come back from this? I think so. But I do think that like people in leadership and in power probably need to step down. And I think if Disney is going to acquire any more IPs, okay, they need to do their homework on how to handle these IPs with care and how to make sure that the fans of these IPs will enjoy them. I think there is room to improve. Marvel, for example, X-Men 97 is amazing. That was a really good series. And that was to follow up with the X-Men series that came out in the 90s. So keep doing stuff like that. If Disney wants to reintroduce the X-Men, do it with care. Deadpool and Wolverine did a very good job. Everybody liked that movie. It was a very funny movie. And granted, I'm gonna be real with you. Deadpool in and of itself, he's a pretty woke guy. But, the Kyles and the edgelords and the Monster Drink head asses, they love him. But he's a pretty woke individual. But, there is still some room for improvement. I guess Disney just has to hire people that care about creating better movies and IPs instead of just trying to make money off of good enough movies and good enough IPs, or at least try to bridge the gap between the two, where you can make a movie with a really good IP but also make merchandise off of it that doesn't feel like a cheap sleazy cash grab. I don't know, that's just my opinion, just some thoughts. All right, I think that's all I got for for today. These are my thoughts about Disney. Let me know in the comments how you feel about Disney. Do you think that wokeness is ruining Disney? Again, if everything's wokeness is not the problem. Disney not caring about their shows and their properties enough is the problem, and just feeding us bullshit is the problem, okay? But let me know in the comments how y'all feel about that. Once again, do not forget to drink water, and also please do not forget to like and subscribe. I love you guys so much, and I hope to see you in my next video. Okay, bye.